Broncos country, what is going on, man? It's a hot topic right now. Is Cooper Kupp going to come to the Denver Broncos? We should probably have news maybe any minute now, but there's a lot of conflicting reports. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about if it's even a smart move for the Broncos, what a contract should look like. And we're also going to discuss, is his injury history really as significant as everybody's making it out to be? I will tell you what I think. But guys, if you love Denver sports and if you love the NFL draft and draft content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, check out some of the other videos, and let's join the community, man. We have a great Discord channel coming up. I'll link it below. Consider checking it out. You can try it out for free. There's a lot of really great local Denver media people that I think can give you a wonderful opinions and insights about what it is that they think. We have a really good time in there, so be sure to check it out. All right, let's dig into all of this real quick. So first and foremost, what the hell are the Broncos doing? Are they even going to sign Cooper Kupp? Well, the reports are wildly, and I mean wildly conflicting. Sarah Bettinger, shout out to him. He said, as of last night, this is what we know in regards to Cooper Kupp. Adam Schefter says that Kupp would have the Broncos among the most desired destinations. Then Jordan Schultz says that the Broncos are firmly in the mix. Diana Rossini comes out and says the Broncos are not really in on Kupp. And then we had a couple of other reports earlier today. Jeff Howe saying that the Seahawks, the Saints, the Cowboys, and the Broncos are amongst the teams showing interest, but the Cowboys are the only ones that are considered a long shot. So what the hell does that mean? Basically, what it means is that nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. And so we're going to find out. We're going to talk about the possibility because I think it's a really smart move for the Broncos to bring in Cooper Kupp for an array of different reasons, a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, aside from what he can do on the field still, he would be an unbelievable mentor and example and leader for the locker room and mentor for the younger players, specifically Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, and Devon Vele, because he's the kind of guy that's just a tactician, right? I mean, he's technical with his routes. He wins because of the fine details, not because he's going to be more athletic and stronger and faster than you. That's not how he wins. He wins because he's very technical, and I love that. And somebody like Troy Franklin can really benefit from that. Marvin Mims certainly. I mean, imagine if Marvin Mims becomes even an above average route runner in this league. He's going to be dynamic. And Vele, obviously, he's a little bit older, a little bit more of a matured, a little bit more of a polished prospect, but he can still learn a lot from him. And they also have Cortland Sutton to be able to sit there and learn from as well. So they're unbelievably valuable, right, to be able to have him. And guys, this is a dude that just a couple seasons ago, I mean, it's not like he's 37, 38 years old, right? He's 32, or he'll be entering his 32 season. A lot of receivers are really productive in their 32 season. I'll show you an example. But just a couple seasons ago, he was a Triple Crown winner. He had almost 2,000 yards receiving, which is crazy. 140 something catches, 19 touchdowns. Was wild. 16 touchdowns. He broke a whole bunch of records. Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion. He's a special talent. And when you hear about him as a person, right, you hear about how imperative he was to Puka Nacua in terms of him becoming such a good receiver so early on in his career, paying attention to the finer details and really helping him, move his career forward in such a quick manner. Yeah, I want to bring that to the Broncos. I mean, you should want that. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be huge. Now let's talk a little bit about the injury history. I get it, right? Is he injury prone? I don't like using that term for players so loosely. I feel like it's so loosely defined because if guys just have bad luck, all of a sudden now they're injury prone, right? Injury prone is somebody like Greg Dulcich here in Denver, for example, who consistently had a chronic hamstring injury. Or sometimes you hear about players have chronic knee injuries, chronic soft tissue injuries. Those are chronic things. When you have like knee bursitis and then a high ankle sprain, and then you pull a hamstring, those are all going to be different. And you got to look at them chronologically in the level of importance of it. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and do all that. So let's pull this up here. So let's talk a little bit about Cooper Kupp's injury history. All right. Dating back to when it became significant in 2020. In that season, unfortunately, he had knee bursitis, which is the exact same injury that actually Puka Nacua had in the preseason this year that caused him to miss the first month of first quarter of the season. And then he missed the wild card game. They ended up still winning it. And then he returns way too early for the divisional game. Obviously, it's playoffs. He ends up spraining that exact knee. So the knee bursitis had a clear, impact. And there was that correlation there. Didn't end up playing in the NFC Championship game and is what it is. All right. So they end up losing. That sucks. 2021, he has a fully healthy season, plays 17 games. All he did was win the Triple Crown and break a whole bunch of records and win the Super Bowl and also win the Super Bowl MVP. All right. Then in 2022, he ends up having a high ankle sprain in week 10. So at this point, he's played 27, 28 games straight with no injuries, has a high ankle sprain on a very unfortunate tackle that ended up happening. And he ended up undergoing what they call the tightrope surgery, which, Tua Tagovailoa made very popular when he was with Alabama. And he ended up missing the rest of the season. He was placed on IR, missed the rest of the season. They ended up kind of not being in it, I believe, if I remember that year anyway, so they didn't want to rush him back. Then in 2023, in training camp, he pulls a hamstring. Mind you guys, this is his first ever hamstring injury. All right. So this is something that you're like, okay, I get it. Like a little bit older, those kinds of things happen. A lot of wear and tear on the body. Pulls his hamstring. He ends up re-aggravating it late in August because he wants to get back early. And he ended up missing the first 4 games of the season. He played the rest of that year. He ended up having a high ankle or just suffered an ankle injury against the Seahawks, avoided any kind of serious damage. And then he played through the rest of the year then. All right. And then in 2024, last year, in week 2, he sustained a high ankle sprain. Again, one of those things. It was the other ankle, and it was just a really rough tackle. Anybody that's had a high ankle sprain, I've had my fair share. They know that those are one of those things that it's not like I'm more susceptible to it happening like a regular ankle sprain because it's higher up in the shin. It's one of those things where it's got to take a lot of impact, and that's exactly what ended up happening there. So 2 high ankle sprains. The ankle injury here in 2023 was different. It was just the lower one, but he ended up playing through it anyways. And it kind of is what it is. So they're very random. It's not like he's constantly having knee issues, constantly having hamstring pulls. His shoulder is constantly getting hurt because those are things that can be chronic. These are a little bit more randomized. So I'm not overly concerned and worried about it. It's not like he had any kind of torn Achilles. It's not like he had a couple ACL injuries. Nothing really like that. Just pretty straightforward stuff. So I think that's overall, I believe that's really good news if you're going to ask me my opinion. Now, when you are talking about, okay, what kind of player is he or what are some other comps, or he's getting a little bit older, is that a concern? I mean, certainly age is a concern, but there's a lot of examples of players that really play well into their mid-30s at the receiver position, especially for guys that do not win strictly on their athleticism. It's a very common thing. Now, everybody in the NFL is good and they're smart and they're technical, but there's a lot of guys that they're just like Tyreek Hill. He's just flat out faster than everybody. And once that speed and that quickness starts to go away, the drop-off might be real. You see it constantly with a lot of different, Todd Gurley, same kind of thing, right? Right when that knee started to bug him and he lost that explosion, it was a wrap. Different positions. But there's a lot of examples like that. And then you got other examples of guys kind of like Adam Thielen, right? Adam Thielen's, I think, a perfect comp for this, because what Adam Thielen shows me is he's somebody that, was very productive receiver over his very, very long career, but he had his injury-prone seasons, or the seasons that he ends up missing, specifically starting really in the 2019 year. He missed, 6 or 7 games. I can't remember how many games were in the season that year. And then he missed a couple more seasons the following year in 2022. Or in 2020. And 2019 was actually really injury play. It was one of those years where you can see he only had 30 catches in 10 games. He was like leaving games early and just kind of fighting through all that. And then in 29, that was in 2019. 2020, he misses a couple games, but still has an overall productive year. And then in 2021, he plays in 13 games, missed 4 of them, really just kind of struggled through it. And then his final year in Minnesota in 22, he actually plays all 17 games. Mind you, this is his year 32 season. So he's 32 at this point. He played all 17 games. He was pretty decent there in Minnesota and ends up getting released for cap concerns, goes to Carolina, entering his year 33 season, played all 17 games in Carolina and had a really good year, actually. 103 catches, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, really, really solid for them on a really terrible Carolina offense. This was Bryce Young's rookie year, which was not good. And he still got over 1,000 yards, which is unbelievably impressive. And he was 33 years old, guys. And in this past year, at age 34, he ended up having an injury. It was a pretty bad one. I can't remember what it was, but he ended up only missing 10 games still. He played in 10 games. Sorry, he missed 7 games and still had 48 catches, 615 yards, and 5 touchdowns, which is awesome. And this is somebody that I don't think is as good as Cooper Kupp, and it's somebody that is older by a couple of years than Cooper Kupp is. So to be able to sit there and predict that, like, oh, he's just going to get injured is wildly crazy and inaccurate. Now, obviously, we talk a lot about the fact that we have a really great training staff that's got 2 years of data now, and those things help. But we can't just sit there and think, oh, automatically these guys aren't going to get hurt. There's a lot of luck involved with those kinds of things too. Absolutely there is. But Cooper Kupp should be a no-brainer really for any team in the NFL. There's not a team in the NFL right now that would not benefit from having a player like Cooper Kupp on their team. Absolutely not one. Especially because his skill set is so versatile. He can be an outside receiver that can beat you. He can dominate you in the slot. You can work him out of the backfield on some routes. He's going to block his ass off. He's going to be a great locker room guy, and he's going to be a team captain, great leader within any locker room that he goes to. So to think that Broncos country don't want him is wild. Now I get it. Do you want to spend $15, $16, $17 million a year for him? Hell no. But the reports are showing that it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that much. Or it's probably going to be up to that much. And there's going to be a lot of incentives. If he hits the incentives, I don't think the fan base will care. And right now, my logic is the Broncos are good. They're in a good cap situation. They've got some money to spend. And they don't really, like, it's not like there's, it's going to be, oh, if they were to not get Cooper Kupp, if they were to get Cooper Kupp, it would prevent them from signing somebody else that they wanted. I think we got all the guys that we wanted in free agency. Everyone else that we want, we can get him with or without Cooper Kupp and the contract that's going to happen with his agreement. So I think everybody's, a little bit crazy to think he's not somebody that would come in and immediately help this Broncos team, because he certainly will. So do I want to see it? Absolutely. Would I be super bummed if the Broncos don't get him? No, not at all. Because I can see, because for me, it's like, all it does is like, all right, going into the draft, it might switch up the priorities a little bit, at least for me, in my opinion. But I think we'll be fine regardless, but I would love to see him added to the team. I think he'd be a really good mentor, and he's a total Sean Payton guy. Totally. So I love it. I want to know what y'all think below. One thing I will say that I would be very curious to see if we were to bring Cooper Kupp in is how would we use Cooper Kupp and Evan Ingram differently? Because I was doing my Evan Ingram film breakdown yesterday, which I'll probably put a video up on it. Maybe not. And very impressive, by the way. Oh, what am I thinking? Guys, I already put that video up yesterday. But if you look at it, the way that he's used in his career is very similar to the way that Cooper Kupp has been used, right? Always constantly in motion, running out of the slot, short to intermediate route, yak guys, tough as nails. So they're very similar. And it doesn't mean that they can't both be very successful within this offense, but it'll be interesting to see. So that is something of note. But anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Let me know down below what y'all think about Cooper Kupp coming to the Broncos. Do you want to see him? If so, why? Do you not? Also, let me know why. And let's debate. And then we'll see. Hopefully in the next few hours, we'll have an answer. Until next time, y'all take it easy. Go Broncos. Peace out.